All right, guys, welcome back to yet another impromptu live stream here on Steel City Sports, where I'm going to be giving you my week 16 predictions for the NFL season. So we did our last one on live, and earlier today, I put out an hour-long epic podcast where I ranked every starting quarterback in the NFL. So if you've got an hour to waste, if you're going for a walk, going to the gym or something, you had a long car ride, definitely go check that one out because I had a lot of fun making that video. Definitely want to hear you guys' thoughts on that one. But we're going to get into my Week 16 picks here right now. So, of course, tonight we have Thursday Night Football, the Denver Broncos versus the LA Chargers. And obviously, this game has massive playoff implications given the fact that both these teams are sitting at the wild card spots. We have the 6th seed versus the 7th seed. So this is almost in a way like a mini playoff game. The Chargers are favored. This is in LA. I could really see this one being a coin toss. I wouldn't really be comfortable putting money on this one because I think you can realistically make an argument for both teams in this game. I think when it's this close, I tend to look at coaching staff and quarterback. That's something I always talk about. You know, whether it's a roster matchup or whatever, you know, sometimes a team just has more talent. But when it's this close, these teams are so close. They're only separated by one game. They're very familiar with each other. I look at coach and quarterback, and both of those categories, I think, favor the LA Chargers. Justin Herbert, miles better than Bo Nix. Harbaugh, I would take any day over Sean Payton. So in this close of a matchup, kind of a must-win for the Chargers because they got a couple teams in the AFC scratching at their heels for that last wild card spot. So I'm going to roll with the LA Chargers tonight. I think it's going to be a close one. I could see it going either way, but like I said, when it's that close, I really look at the quarterback and the coach. Give me the Chargers. So next we go to the Saturday slate of games. We actually have a doubleheader on Saturday. Kind of weird. I don't know why the NFL did that because that's when the college football playoffs start. So you think the NFL, you know, they're kind of in bed with college football. You think they'd let college football have that Saturday. Kind of weird. I mean, I guess it kind of had to play out that way because of the Christmas games. You know, they got all the teams that play on Christmas actually play this Saturday. They just mixed around who's playing who. So the first matchup at 1 p.m., we have the Houston Texans going to Kansas City to play the Chiefs. Now, the big talking point coming into this game is Patrick Mahomes going to play? I think the likelihood is Patrick Mahomes will play with that high ankle sprain. I mean, you guys, I've heard different takes on it, people arguing, is he even really that hurt? Is he kind of playing it up a little bit? Who really knows? I have to roll with the Chiefs. I have not picked against the Kansas City Chiefs this entire season, and the Houston Texans are not a team that I particularly trust. I get it. They just beat the Dolphins, but their offense has been shaky all season long. C.J. Stroud is 100% in the midst of a sophomore slump. Their offensive line is putrid, whereas the Kansas City Chiefs, they just find a way to win football games no matter what. Despite their matchup, despite who's injured, the Kansas City Chiefs with their voodoo magic always find a way. So I haven't picked against the Chiefs yet this season, and I'm not going to start now. Give me the Kansas City Chiefs. Next up, we got a big one. My Steelers going to Baltimore to play the Ravens. So not only is this a big one because it's a divisional matchup, but also has massive implications for the AFC North. Because if the Baltimore Ravens win this one, I don't know exactly how it would play out because we would both have a win, but we'd both be sitting at a record of 10-5 if the Baltimore Ravens win this game. So if the Steelers want to win this division, this is a must-win game. And the thing that really, really scares me about this game as a diehard Steelers fan is George Pickens, probably a 90 to 95% chance he's not going to play in this game. So as much as I want to pick the Steelers, I've seen my Steelers offense without George Pickens. It's a very stale offense. That dynamic that Russell Wilson brought to the table of the deep ball ability, those moon-scratching passes to Pickens, which was the number one element of our offense, which also opened up the run game, is not going to be present in a game that was already close when we played the Ravens earlier this year. The only reason we beat the Ravens was because Justin Tucker had an all-time meltdown. That's something I can't count on for the Steelers. And as much as it does pain me, I have to pick the Ravens in this spot. It's in Baltimore. They're 6.5-point favorites. If George Pickens was playing, I would take my Steelers, but I think Pickens is that vital to this offense, not only for the pass game, but also unlocking the run game. I think it would be kind of naive of me to pick the Steelers. Obviously, I want them to win 100%. They can do it through the defense, but I don't think it's likely. Makes me want to vomit, but give me the Baltimore Ravens in that matchup. Next, we get to the Sunday slate. We have the other two teams in the AFC North playing each other between the Browns and the Bengals. Give me the Bengals in that one. The Bengals are a red-hot team right now. I don't know if you guys have watched that AFC North Hard Knocks thing, but within the Bengals building, they still seem to believe that they can make the playoffs. I don't think it's possible because even if they win out, which isn't a given, they'd be at 9-8. I don't know if 9-8 is even good enough to be a playoff team in the AFC, but you got to look at the momentum right now with how lethal that offense is for the Bengals and how turnover-prone Jameis Winston is. I don't think the Browns really have a prayer in this game. I know that Burrow in his career does struggle against the Browns. That is something to look out for, but we always talk about this year after year with the Cincinnati Bengals is they always get hot at the end of the season. That's been the trajectory of the Bengals in the Joe Burrow era is they always get off to kind of a slow start. Then as the year goes on, they get red hot. That's exactly what the Cincinnati Bengals are doing at this point in time. They are a red hot football team playing their best football. Joe Burrow playing at an MVP level. He won't be MVP because they're 6-8. But his numbers are MVP level. Joe Burrow's having statistically one of the greatest seasons of his career right now. Next up, Giants at Falcons. So this is a really fun one because it's going to be the NFL debut of Michael Penix Jr., which I'm really, really excited for. I was really high on Penix coming out of the draft, so I'm really excited to see what Michael Penix does. He cannot be worse than Kirk Cousins. There's not a world that exists. I would bet everything that I own. There's no way that Michael Penix Jr. can be worse in this game. And I think they actually strategically maybe played this right, having his debut be against the Giants, because I don't know if there's an easier team out there you'd want to play against. The Giants, absolute disaster. They're in competition for the number 1 overall pick. It does kind of surprise me that the line on this game, the Falcons favored by 9 points, rolling out there with a rookie quarterback we haven't really seen. I mean, Michael Penix has only 5 attempts on this season. So I would stay away from betting this game, but I also said that last week when the Ravens played the Giants, they were favored by 16.5. I said that line was too big. I think the Ravens won that game by 25 plus. So the Giants fucking suck. That's the one definitive about the NFL right now. The Giants are a fucking train wreck right now. The worst team in the NFL right now. Probably going to get the number 1 overall pick. The Falcons should win that one. I think Penix will look pretty good in this game. Next up, Lions at Bears. I know the Lions have a lot of injuries. The Lions are kind of crumbling right now with all their injuries. They're losing key guys every week. How can you pick the Bears? I don't care. The Bears are such a clown show right now. I don't like the Lions could roll out there with their backup quarterback, which I don't even know who it is. Is it Hendon Hooker? The Lions could roll out there with their backup, and I'd still pick them to beat the Bears because the Bears are so fucking dysfunctional. I watched that Monday night game, the Bears versus the Vikings, and I think all of their problems were on full display against that Vikings team. Their offensive line is putrid. Their coaches don't know what they're doing. Caleb Williams in over his head, trying to play hero ball like he did at USC. That doesn't work in the NFL. You can't fucking run around and scramble like that. Very few quarterbacks in the history of the NFL have been able to replicate that style. I'm thinking of like prime Russell Wilson. That's about it from a superstar level we've seen be able to just run around outside of the pocket, get out, and make plays. Caleb Williams has been trying to do that the whole fucking season behind a putrid dog shit line, and that's why the Bears are a mess, because that's not a winning recipe in the NFL. That's not NFL football. So, like I said, if the Lions were trotting out there with Hendon Hooker at quarterback, I'd take them, because that's how little faith I have in the Chicago Bears. Next up, Titans at Colts. We got a divisional matchup here. I think the Colts, their playoff chances are done after losing to the Broncos. Even if they would have beat the Broncos last week, I still think they had a very much so uphill battle to get that playoff spot. They should beat the Titans. Will Levis, you just don't know what you're getting from Will Levis. I still think he has talent, but he's so up in the air. But this is really kind of like the battle of the shitty quarterbacks. Because, again, like I said, I just dropped a video on this channel, an hour-long podcast where I ranked every starting quarterback. Go check it out. Will Levis and Anthony Richardson I have right next to each other in that list. So we're going to see. I mean, it's the battle of the two disappointing quarterbacks. I guess I'll take the Colts. I like their roster more. I like their coach more, but not really an interesting game. Next, we have the Cardinals going to Carolina to play the Panthers. So Bryce Young has played a lot better lately. But I was really blown away at the fact that the Panthers were actually favorites against the Cowboys last week. That was one of my favorite picks of the week. I actually did bet money on the Cowboys money line in that game. I'm like, I get it, Bryce Young has played better. The Cowboys still have a lot of good players, and the Cowboys ended up rolling the Panthers in that game. So the Vegas has clearly learned their lesson here because they're playing the Cardinals here, and they are now 5-point underdogs, rightfully so. I'd roll with the Cardinals there. The Cardinals continue to be a very streaky team, very inconsistent team. That all stems from Kyler. I've been a massive Kyler fan, but I have to admit, I mean, the guy is just so wildly inconsistent, and that's perfectly reflected in their record at 7-7. That is a perfect tale of the Arizona Cardinals, inconsistent. So I will take them in this game, but it's not no lock. You never know what you're getting from Kyler, especially with Call of Duty out. Next, we have the Eagles going to Washington to play the Commanders. So the thing that really shocks me about this game is the Eagles are only 3.5-point favorites. I get this game is in Washington. They've already played this year, but I don't get this line. Why? Am I missing something? Is Jalen Hurts hurt? I would smash that Eagles with the points, -3.5. Give me that any day. I think that might be one of the best bets of this week because the Commanders, their trajectory is going in the wrong direction. Jane Daniels in a bit of a slump just because I think he's banged up from the injury. He's got to put more muscle on, whereas Jalen Hurts and the Eagles they're peaking right now. They're playing their best football of the season thus far. I mean, this is the best the Philadelphia Eagles have looked, I think, since their Super Bowl season. And you look back to last week, like my Steelers are supposed to be an elite defense. Jalen Hurts carved apart the Steelers defense, like completely torched it. So going up against the Commanders secondary, that ain't that special. I mean, I like Marshawn Lattimore, but that's not a very good defensive unit. I think the Eagles could fucking bludgeon the Commanders. I'm really, can you guys let me know why is that line so small for the Eagles? I would expect them to be more like -7.5, more than -3.5. That's kind of crazy to me. Next up, Rams at Jets. Not going to spend a whole lot of time on this. You guys are longtime listeners of the channel. You know how I feel about the Jets. They're a circus show, train wreck. I don't really want to talk about the Jets more. I've already given them too much time on this channel than they deserve. Give me the Rams. They're one of the hottest teams in the NFL right now. When they have all their guys healthy, they're one of the most lethal offenses in the league. Give me the Rams. Move on. Next, we have Vikings at Seahawks here. The Seahawks, I just don't know. Every time I want to believe in the Seahawks, they just let me down. You had that performance against Green Bay, pretty pathetic performance from Seattle. I get it. They sort of mounted a comeback late in that game, but I never really believed in them. Give me the Vikings. I mean, the Vikings have been just such a totally dominating team this year at every aspect on the football field. From every unit, offensively, defensively, from a coaching standpoint, the Vikings are just such a stacked team. I would take them -3 any day against Seattle. Next, we have a divisional one. Patriots going to Buffalo to play the Bills. One of the bigger lines of the season. Bills are 2 touchdown favorites in this one, so they are -14 here against the New England Patriots. Kind of makes sense. I don't know if I'd take that line again. I'm just never a big fan of taking big lines like that, whether it's NFL or college, but just straight up, of course, you got to take the Bills beating the Patriots. I mean, that is not even a question. The Bills right now with Josh Allen playing at an MVP level, I think this is the most Herculean, like Superman-esque level play I've ever seen over a stretch of time from an individual player. Josh Allen is on a fucking tear right now, especially his last 2 games against the Lions and the Rams is like some of the best stuff I've ever seen. So yeah, I am expecting them to bludgeon the Patriots, and that's why that line is so big. Next up, we got Jags at Raiders. You got a dumpster bowl here. Complete dumpster fire of a game right here. I don't care. Give me the Jags, I guess. I'm not spending any time on that one. Next, we have Niners at Dolphins. Interesting game because this is the protege of Kyle Shanahan, who is the Dolphins coach, Mike McDaniel. And of course, the Dolphins run the Shanahan-style offense with Tua. So it's kind of like, for that reason, it is actually pretty interesting because it's kind of like this clash of style between these two teams that play very similar. So I'm going with the Niners here. I think the Niners have had a very disappointing season. They've been very up and down, but I've kind of learned my lesson to not roll with the Dolphins against competent teams. I get it. The Niners' record is 6-8, but I still believe the 49ers are a much better team than 6-8, and I think next year the Niners are still going to be a good team. They've just dealt with a myriad of injuries, so I'm going with the Niners here. I don't trust Tua and the Dolphins against, competent level opponents. If they're playing a shitty team like Jacksonville or Tennessee, give me the Dolphins any day. But anytime they're going to play like stiff competition like the reigning NFC champs, I'm going with the Niners in that one. I learned my lesson big time last week where I picked the Dolphins to beat the Texans. They came up short yet again. Nothing new there. So give me the Niners in that one. Then the night game for Sunday, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the Dallas Cowboys. Hammer the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers are quickly becoming one of my favorite teams in the NFL right now. Like I actively root for them. I've been a Baker Mayfield fan for forever now. I mean, I liked him at Oklahoma. Even though he was a Brown, I liked him, and I think the way that the Browns kind of just threw him away for Deshaun Watson, I think a lot of people now root for Baker. And I actually did pick the Bucs against the Chargers last week. I laid that out in the video last week. The matchup favored them, J.K. Dobbins being out, and the Bucs really took advantage of that. So you have to give the Bucs so much credit. I don't think they get talked about enough, not only for Baker, the year he's had. Baker Mayfield has thrown 32 touchdowns to 14 picks. That is a fucking elite level season, but no one really talks about Baker. And also Todd Bowles. I mean, for the amount of injuries that this team had, especially to their key guys, their high-level players, Godwin and Evans in particular, they've had a lot of defensive injuries as well, like Winfield. It would be kind of easy to just give up on the season, but they fucking stuck through it through the leadership of Todd Bowles and Baker Mayfield. And they're now going to be back in the playoffs for, the 5th straight season? Or maybe 4th, because they made it with Brady, 2 or 3 years? This is now going to be the 2nd year with Baker they made it to the playoffs. It all stems from solid ownership, solid management, and they found the right guy at quarterback. They found the right guy at head coach. This is really turning into a top-tier operation in the NFL right now. You got to like the Bucs. I think they're a good story, and I'm going to take them to crush the Dallas Cowboys. Even though the Cowboys are feisty with Cooper Rush, I just think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are in a whole other stratosphere right now. Then we have the Monday night game, just a bad game between the Saints and the Packers. The Packers are 14-point favorites in this game, so that shows you really all you need to know about this game. I've blabbed enough about the Saints this year. Give me the Packers to win that one by 50. But that's been it for my Week 16 predictions. I'm definitely going to re-upload this after it's live. So if you're watching it after, let me know your picks down in the comments. And like I said, go check out my hour-long video where I ranked every quarterback. You won't have to watch anyone else's list. Mine is the definitive list. So if you were in this live stream, thanks for watching. We're going to head out now. I'll see you guys next time.